All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I have to give all the praises, honor, and glory unto the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Ruach Kadash. Double honors and respect to my apostles and elders, a great millstone, who rule well and taught us His truth. Much love, peace, and salutations to the Lord's elect, the hopeful lights in the 1/3. This is your brother Salah. All right, in today's video, topic is going to be about more false flags, right? Right, events that that are taking place, right? So the main focus is this video right here. But basically, right, you know, with this whole Esau, getting deleted by a so-called sheik or whatever in the UK, and that's sparking outrage by Esau, right? And what do you have now? Now you have videos of what Jake wanted to become, wanted to join freaking Sheikism, right? It says here, you see the title here, black guys convert to Sheikism, right? And that takes me to the book of Second Corinthians chapter 2 verse 11. It says here, least Satan should get an advantage of us, for we're not ignorant of his devices, right? And as you can see right here, man, it, Esau's trying to tie Jake, so-called black, you so-called black people, right? But really, Esau's trying to tie this ministry to what domestic that T word, man, TR ism. So because Esau's because getting ready to accuse you Jakes, because why his kingdom's getting ready to collapse, and he's about to roll out with that MOTV, right? So before I play any of these videos, right, I'm gonna get the copyright disclaimer. All right, disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use, fair use, fair use, for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. With that out of the way, we're gonna play the first video. This was from the brother GMS Hawaii. Like and subscribe to his to his channel to get more edification. All right, the title is "Curses are falling upon Edom," but I'm just gonna play this portion of the video just to recap on the event.
Calls for the officers to face the law.
Esau the new.
An angry crowd rushed the riot squad in Southampton. Novak.
Esau's the new George Floyd, right? This is your kingdom, and you're catching this kind of hell. You got Edomites on drugs. You got Edomites as bums. You got Edomites that's losing to Jake. You know what I'm saying? Hey, welcome to the party. And this because your time is up, right? Your time is up. The curses are going on to you Edomites. Come to America and you look at what America looks like, right? You got you go to Philadelphia and go to K&A, aka Kensington Beach. It ain't nothing but Edomites drugged out and bugged out. Through. This is your kingdom, and you see how you going out. You're going out bad. What you thought it was just going? You were going to go out on a high horse. You thought that you was going to go out or with all the money and the power and the fame. Absolutely not. It's your time. It's your time. Your kingdom is in. The sun is setting on Esau's kingdom. This is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 7. And Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai, thy power, will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. And that's what you see happening.
Who died not far from here. This police body cam footage.
You see this Edomite going out. These are the curses. These are the curses. Right? And they're
And Colin, that's right, man. On the flip side, is these curses falling upon you devils? But make no mistake, right? This Esau's also going to use this as a false flag event, right? I believe one of the devils said, I don't know if it was from that devil Hillary Clinton or someone else, but one of them said never let a good crisis go to waste, man. And you best believe whether or not this is planned, right? Which I do, which in the through the spirit I do believe this is planned, right? Right, they're gonna use it, to tie, all, you so-called brown people, right, all melanated people, especially you Jakes, right, you Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, right, especially the ones in this truth, right, they're gonna tie it to that domestic T word. So we're gonna back this video up because I want to get the this nigga's face, the nigga who stabbed him. So Yeah, right here. Yeah, right here. Let's start here.
They don't have no confidence in the police force. It ain't just this old biddy right here. You got these.
An angry crowd rushed the riot squad in Southampton as public outcry turns to unrest. Protesters turning on police over the death of 18-year-old student Henry Novak, who died not far from here. This police body cam footage igniting the outrage. The video showing the teenager's last minutes alive, arrested after being stabbed 5 times by a stranger.
Has anyone been hurt other than him?
He's took my turban off.
That is his killer, Vikram Digwa, who was last week found guilty of murder and of lying to police that he was the victim of racial abuse.
You've been stabbed? Whereabouts? Don't think you have, mate.
Instead, Henry is handcuffed as he's dying.
At the moment, you are under arrest. That's for assault, so you didn't have to say anything, mate.
By then, it was too late.
With his final words, he told officers that he could not breathe. He told them he had been stabbed.
Digwa was sentenced to a minimum of 21 years in jail for stabbing the teenager with a ceremonial knife after the pair brushed past each other on the street. But the release of this footage is now sparking calls for the officers to face the law.
Yeah, he saw the new.
An angry crowd rushed the riot squad.
Yeah, Esau, you the new nigga, man. But yeah, but back to the main point, right? Like I said, right? Now we're gonna play this video right here again. Fair use, fair use, fair use. Now all of a sudden, right? Jake's interested in converting to Sikhism. Like, let me ask you this: when has Sikhism, when has fucking Sikhism have ever become relevant, right? You see Jake wanting to convert to Islam, or being those fucking Christian apologists, or whatever, or if they are in the truth, and if they might be on some wayward doctrine, or they're getting exposed doing fuck shit, man. And you know what I'm talking about, right? But now all of a sudden, right? You have Jake wanting to join fucking Sikhism after this event, right here fucking played out, man. Esau, you not slick, but we're gonna play this video.
What's your name?
My name is Russell Singh Khalsa.
And you're a black guy with turban. How you came into Sikhism?
So in the West Indies, we wear turbans too, right? And so dwelling here in Brampton, that's pretty much how I found Sikhi. I'm kind of naturally just like that, right? And our national dish in Trinidad is roti. And here they give free roti at the Gurdwara. And that's where I found myself on tough days when I had no money. I'm a single father with 2 kids. The only way I could cut a break was going to the Gurdwara to get dinner sometimes when I didn't have money for myself and had to give everything to life. You know how it goes. The only place I could really home myself was the Gurdwara, and was happy that they invited me in and kept me as their guest, and I haven't left since. So yeah.
That was so amazing, bro. Very happy to see you as a Sikh.
Love you, brother.
Yeah, and look at this shit right here, man. Of course, they're gonna show Jake on camera, loving Sikhism and holding a fucking sword, right? And you best believe Esau is gonna use this, to accuse you of Jakes, right? So let's get the book of Slakia. Let's get the book of Revelation 12, verse 10. And it says here, "And I heard a loud voice in heaven saying, Now's come salvation and strength, and the kingdom of our God, of our power, right? And the power of his Hamashiach, for the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them, but before our power day and night." And the them's referring to who, man? You Israelites, man. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and you speckled bird Israelites that look like the other nations, but your seed line / sperm line goes back onto Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? From who your forefathers are. All right. Esau, the damn devil, is getting ready to accuse you, and if you go that word accuse, right? Let's get the word Strong's.
Strong's G 2725. Kategaras. Thayer's Lexicon, related entry. Kategor.
Yeah, it sounds like the word category, right? Esau's going to categorize you. He's going to categorize you in groups, right? And you best believe, right? This reminds me of the Anti-Patriot Act, right? Let's get that. Anti-Patriot. Let's see. Yeah, right here. The Anti-Patriot Act movement encompasses decades of bipartisan political, legal, and public pushback against against the U.S. Patriot Act, civil liberties. Slocky, this isn't the one. This isn't the one I want to get. No, Slocky, if I couldn't pull it up, but it was the one where season Nero 47, DJT, he basically pushed out a bill, right, and it showed out a list where it says, like, if you go against American freedoms, or the American so-called family structure, or whatever, or the so-called American religious system, or whatever, like, they'll deem you as a domestic T word, right? And Esau's getting ready to categorize, and label a bunch of citizens in America as domestic T's, and especially you Israelites, right? Right, those are the ones in the truth, right? They're gonna stick Jake as a domestic T, right? And with the recent events of what happened, right? Esau getting stabbed by a Shiite, right? With their so-called fucking religious weapon, right? Which the Sikhs, in the UK supposedly, are allowed to carry a blade, which is illegal in the UK, because of so-called religious reasons. But now Esau's getting ready to use that to say, okay, no, all right, no. No, all right, no more freedom of speech, no more freedom of religion, right? If we catch you, being a part of this, being a part of this, this religion. If you go against, the Edomite plantation Christianity, then they'll deem you as a domestic T, right? Right, and I like to show you another video, like, proving that this whole event that transpired in the UK, is a false flag, right? Because listen to what this Elamite has to say, right? Again, fair use, fair use, fair use.
Sikhs legally allowed to carry knives in the UK. The Sikhs and their knives are in the news again. In a country where carrying a blade is mostly banned, they're the exception. And to understand why that blade was legal and why Sikhs say it shouldn't count, you have to go back 300 years. Sikhism began in Punjab in the 1500s. The founder, Guru Nanak, built it around peace, equality and service. But the world around them was violent. As Sikhism grew, the Mughals who ruled the land saw it as a threat. The 5th Guru was tortured to death. The 9th was beheaded in public for defending Hindus. Sikhs were being persecuted simply for existing. Faced with complete extinction, they had to choose, disappear or fight back. In 1699, Guru Gobind Singh created the Khalsa, baptized Sikhs who took a lifelong vow to defend themselves and others. One of the requirements was to carry a blade at all times, the kirpan. The kirpan itself is a ceremonial sword or dagger, worn openly. It symbolises the baptized Sikh's duty to protect the weak and stand against oppression. It's never to be used in anger, only to defend someone, and only when there's nothing else left. The UK allows it as a religious exception to the blade ban, and what most baptized Sikhs carry is small, blunt, and more of a symbol than blade. But the blade in the attack was none of that, which is why Sikh groups argue it wasn't a kirpan at all. The blade in the headlines broke the one rule a kirpan exists to keep. Why are Sikhs
Yeah, and again, we don't believe in fucking Sikhism, man. We're not promoting that, but it's the fact that whoever the fuck stabbed this Edomite right here. I'm gonna show their face again.
Sikhs and their knife.
This guy, man. Supposedly this guy wasn't actually a part of the, there's Sikh group, and actually stab this stab this Edomite right here with with an actual blade. Meaning, what I'm trying to say is, this dude could have been this could have been an agent set up set up to cause again another false flag event, right that to ultimately tie you Jakes, man,
What's your name?
to to domestic to the domestic T word, right? TR-ism. Right, so let's get the book of Daniel, chapter 8, verse 25, and it says here, and through his policy he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand, right? So Esau, man, he's gonna set up rules and policies saying that, okay, if you join if you join any other religion, right, we'll label you as a domestic T, right? And again, going back to the on Google, going back to biometric subdermal implant, if you go right here where where I ask the question, what would make biometric subdermal implant become mandatory? We can go under criminal justice and institutional correction system, and under here it says prison population management, right? So again, man, the only way that Esau is going to make the MOT mandatory, right, is basically labeling everyone as a criminal, right? And anything that goes against what the current regime. That's ruling, right? The anti make America great, the anti make America great, regime. So basically, if you stand up in any way, especially for the ones preaching this truth, right? Right, if Esau if Esau basically catches you, right, he marks you, he labels you, he puts you on the list, he categorizes you, saying, okay, this person is this type of extremist, or this person, is more likely to is more likely to rebel or not pay their taxes, or they're gonna disagree with us on this stance, or whatever, right? Then guess what? They're gonna label you as a domestic T, right? Esau is gonna try to find many absurd ways to label everyone as a as some sort of enemy of the state. Why is because they're getting ready to come down with this MOTB, right? Right, and they're also getting ready to slay, slay and deliver the prophets, right? The ones in the truth, speaking against Esau, right? Right. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 29, verse 21. That maketh a man an offender for the word. They lay a snare for him that reproveth in the gate, right? Right, and turn aside the just for a thing of naught, right? And and again, man, this whole event, is another one of this devil's false flag or snares, right? Trying to tie Jake, the face of Jake to what? Terrorism, man. I'm just gonna say it right now. With with this whole with this whole Sheik event, man, and you best believe, Esau, man, this damn devil, he's gonna get ready to deliver you, man, up up to the judges, like how they delivered Yahushai, man, and the Pilate to get crucified. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 10, starting at verse 17. But beware of men, that they will deliver you up to the councils, and they will scourge you in their synagogues, and ye shall be brought before governors and kings for my sake. Speaking of Yahushai, for a test to be against them and the Gentiles, right? So again, man, you best believe, if we're in the time of them saying snares, agents, sellouts, bug outs, apostates, right. To what try to blame the ministry, right? But Esau, man, again, man, again, man, like it says in Daniel 8:25, right? He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand, right? And that's Esau trying to go up against his truth, but ultimately the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushai is gonna destroy him, for trying to touch his elect, man. This is the book of Mark, 13, we're gonna verse 9. But take heed to yourselves that they shall deliver you up to the councils and in the synagogues, and ye shall be beaten, and ye shall be brought before the rulers and kings for my sake and for a testimony against them, right? Yeah, this truth, right? Verse 10, and the gospel must first be published among all nations, and that's what's happening right now, through YouTube. But eventually, what they're gonna do, man, fame of the word, they're gonna shut down this internet, right? And that's when people are really gonna start crashing out, because they can no longer act, hear all their goodies, acts as the voice of the bridegroom, which comforts people in a way, right? That's why you see all these people fucking doom scrolling on their damn phones, or just be on the internet all the time. Verse 11, but when they shall lead you and deliver you up, take no thought beforehand what ye shall speak, neither do ye premeditate, but whatsoever shall be given you in that hour, that speak ye, for it is not ye that speak, but the Holy Ghost, the Ruach HaKodesh, right? So when they deliver us up, man, some of us, because it's not gonna be all of us, but when they deliver a certain of us up, to their judges, man, or whatever, like, we're not gonna need to memorize or know what we're gonna say. Yahweh Bashim Yashai is gonna put the Spirit in us. The Ruach Hakodesh is gonna guide us, right? Through wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and especially the fear of the Most High, in order for us to give us the Spirit, right? The right precept and what to say, when the judge, is getting ready to accuse us, right? Right, and right, the biggest example here is when Yahushua was preferred, before Pilate, right? The book of Luke, chapter 23, verse 1. It says here, and the whole multitude of them arose and led him unto Pilate, and they began to accuse him, saying, we found this fellow perverting the nation and forbidding to give tribute to Caesar, saying that he himself is Hamashiach, a king, right? So during the time of ancient Rome, right, it was considered treason, to exalt another ruler, another king, right, above Caesar, right, and the same thing is basically playing out today, right, but but instead of Caesar, right, it's against what, the established rulership or regime, which is what, Caesar Nero today, man, and DJT 47 and his regime, MAGA, so anything against MAGA, right, or the so-called, quote unquote American or patriotic way of life, way of thinking, the image of the beast, anything against that, right, is going to be deemed what, a traitor, a so-called TRist, right, and that's what they're trying to tie you jakes to, man. All right, but let's keep reading on, and Pilate asked him, saying, art thou the king of the Jews? And he answered and said, and this is Yahushua speaking the red letter, thou sayest. Then said Pilate to the chief priests and to the people, I found no fault in this man, and again, man, that's that's the Lord, man, using the Holy Spirit, in that time, right, to guide Yahushua, that I just to say the right things, right, that's wisdom right there, and also the Lord can put the Spirit on the judges and rulers to to let you go, man. You'll never know how Yahweh Bashim Yahshai is going to deliver us. And so, so basically, right, this is just a warning, right, to you brothers, right, is to what, is to what to be circumspect, right, as the scripture says, because we're living in times where where the stuff before where the prophets are getting ready to be persecuted, that it's the same things is gonna get ready to happen to us, right? So I'm gonna end off with we're gonna end off with the book of John, chapter 15, verse 20. It says here, "Remember the word I said unto you: the servant is not greater than his Lord. If they have persecuted me, they will also persecute you. If they have kept my saying, they will also keep yours." Right. So again, not all of us are gonna get persecuted, but remember, they're or like what's it called, Slocky. Let me say this again. All of us will get tried. All of us will get persecuted, right? But not all of us are gonna get delivered up to the judges. Some of us might flee somewhere. Some of us might be hiding. Some of us, we'll get captured. We'll get persecuted, right? Might get thrown into them concentration camps, right? Their FEMA camps, or their prisons or whatever. But the Lord Yahweh Shem Shai, man. He's gonna protect us with those times, right? And the spirit, I'm gonna bring out one last precept. Revelation chapter 3 verse 10, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. Right. So if we do our best, right, to keep the Lord's patience, to keep His testimony, preaching the correct doctrine, examining ourselves, trying to stay right with the Lord Yahweh Shem Shai, especially fearing Him, right, and doing what He commands us to the best of our ability, right through faith, and under the blood of Yahweh Shai, man, then the Lord Yahweh Shem Shai, man. He's gonna keep us from these times, right? So with that, I'm gonna end off this lesson right here. Hope this lesson has been edifying, exhorting, uplifting, to you sincere Achim and Akwath. And with that, I'd like to say, Kal Halayim La, Abanawa Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Kadash. Double honors and respect to my apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who will well and taught us His truth. Much love, peace, and salutations to the Lord's elect, the hopeful elect of the 1/3. This is your brother Salah, and with that, I'd like to say, Shabbat Shalom.